Hey loves, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are going to learn how to make this three-piece um corset. It is an off-shoulder corset, so we are going to learn how to cut and sew it from start to finish. I have missed you guys so much and I am back from my break. So first of all, we are going to do the pattern drafting. So here is the pattern that I'll be using for the corset. So since we are making an off-shoulder corset, we are going to subtract where you want your corset to start from, like from your shoulder to where you want the corset to start from. So I subtracted 6, though I wanted it to be 7, but I made it 6 because I will still do some trimmings. So from there I marked my bust point, my under bust, my half length, then the full length. The full length is 21 and I added my allowance. You can make it 22, 23, 24 depending on the length of the person that you are making the corset for. So I have labeled my lines and I will go ahead and mark my dart line. My dart is 8 inches, that is 4 unfold. So I measured 4 inches down to the full length, and I will go ahead and connect the dart with my ruler. So after that I'm going to get my breast curve. So at the under bust I will subtract 1.5 on each side of the dart line. Remember I measured my 4, right? So I'll go ahead and subtract 1.5 on the right side and 1.5 on the left side. So from there I will mark a straight line down to the full length of this corset. So after marking your straight line, you will also go ahead and mark on the other side. You can see how it looks right now. So I'll go ahead and mark my breast curve. That is from that area where I measured 1.5, I will make a curve to meet my bust point. And at the chest line is the area where we started the corset from. So at that point you subtract 1 inch on each side of the dart line. This is for the upper bust tightening. Then from the bust point you connect to that 1 inch you measured. Remember we are making a 3-piece bra cup. We have different methods for that. So for the side piece of the bra cup I measured 4.5. That it is just like half an my darts plus half an inch. So from that place I connected to my under bust and to my chest line. So for the center piece I'll come in by 0.5 at the bust point and at the chest line. Then I'll make a straight line from that bust point to the chest line. Then I will connect from my under bust to that area where I measure 0.5 at the bust point. You can see how the curve looks. So for now I have not made my neck curve or sweetheart neckline or anything. I just want to leave it like this for now. So right now I'll go ahead and make the upper, we are making a 3-piece bra cups, right? So I am drafting how I want the upper piece to look. So you are free to manipulate this. You can give it any shape of your choice. You can just curve it the way you want. So this is how I want it, but make sure that the lines are facing each other, like they are equal. You can make it to stop at the bust point. You can also curve it to be above the bust point. This one that I'm drafted right now is above the bust point, but if you want it to stop at the bust point you can stop at the bust point. So I'll go ahead and cut out my dart lines. Then after that I'll place my bra cups to overlap each other. Then I will take my bust and my waist measurement, the bust and the waist measurement plus 2 inches seam allowance. If you want to add just 1 inch, fine, but 2 inches is just the best. So from my waistline I connected to my bust and down to the full length. So from the full length I will come up by 3 inches and then I will curve. I want it to be curved. Then I'll go ahead and cut out that curved area, and then I'll cut out my waistline and my bust points. So at this point I'll go ahead and give it a sweetheart shape. You can see the neckline, I gave it a sweetheart or a V shape. Then from the bust point, I came up by 2 inches. I normally tell you guys that your armhole length should be 2 inches above your bust point. Then I curved from my neckline down to the armhole, like I just smoothened it. But if you want, you can leave it like that, but this is just the best. You can see the way I made the line fine so that the armhole area will curve very well. So right now I'll cut out my back curves, and after cutting them, I'll go ahead and cut out the upper piece. The upper piece, I will still make it one. You can see there I have 2 pieces for the upper piece, right? So I'll go ahead and use my masking tape to hold the upper piece together. I'll close that I opened before, like the dart that I opened initially. So I will use my masking tape to cover it so that I will have one piece. There were 2, right? So you go ahead and use your masking tape and cover so that you can get one piece. So I'll go ahead and cut off the remaining parts of the masking tape, and this is our new piece for the upper part. So if you want, you can leave it like this. So that is the number 1, number 2, and the number 3. But I want to place it on a new pattern paper. I want to place it on a fresh pattern paper and redraft it. So this is my fresh pattern paper. I'll place it on it, and I'll go ahead and cut out a new pattern for the upper part, and that would be better. At least it will not be confusing if you make it this way. So I'll go ahead and relabel it. I'll label it number 1. So that is my number 1, and that is it for the front part. So after drafting this front part, I'll go ahead and draft the back parts of this corset. So the back part is a kind of simple. I don't normally add that to my back part. I told you guys I don't normally add that, but I'll add that here. So I'll subtract the 6 that I did initially at the front. Then from there I'll mark 8 inches. 8 inches is our chest line. Then I'll mark my half length, full length, and the allowance. That's just the lines that I need for the back. The chest line, the armhole line is, I just use it as the chest line for the back. Then I'll go ahead and measure 4 inches for my dart line. If you can notice, I did not add any zipper allowance to these back parts. I don't know if you noticed, I did not add zipper allowance at the back. So at the half length, I'll subtract half an inch on each side of my dart line. I added half an inch on, I subtracted half an inch on each side of my dart line. That is at the half length. Then I connected it to the full length, and I also connected from the half length to the chest line, and that is our dart for the back. But if you want, you can leave the back like that. The dart is not really relevant. So right now I'll take my bust measurements plus 2 inches seam allowance, then my waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch for my dart and 2 inches for seam allowance, and I marked. So if your waist is 30 inches, you can reduce it to 28 or 27. So my waist is actually 28 inches, but I reduced it to 26 inches. So that is it. So the back parts, the neckline of the back part will be deeper than that of the front. So the back part will start at the armhole line. You can see my armhole line, the place that I wrote chest line, that's my armhole line. So that is where the neckline of the back will start from. So that means the front and the back will be equal at the armhole line, but the neckline of the back will be lower than the neckline of the front, but 2 of them will meet at the armhole line. So I'm cutting out my dart. I want to open the dart, and this is what I have the center and the side piece, and that is it for the back. So I'll still go ahead and subtract 2 inches from the center back. I'll subtract 2 inches. The reason why I did this is for the lacing at the back. I want it to be open, like I want the space between the 2 of them to be like 4 inches. That's why I reduced my back by 2 inches. So right now, this is my doll face and this is my lining. I added a tissue gum to my lining. I don't want to add anything to the doll face, it will rumple. So here is my bra cup. My bust is 30 my bust is 34, but I actually used a bra cup of 36 so that it will fit very well. So this is the net that we use. I have my bones. I'll go ahead and cut out my pattern on the fabric and on the lining. So first of all, I'll start with the center front. So this is the center front. I want my center front to have a joining at the center, so I added 1/2 inch at the center front. So I cut the center front open because I want it to have a joining. That is for the center front. So I also added 1/2 inch around the bra cup area and around the dart line area. So if you are cutting out your pattern, remember to add 1/2 inch around the areas where you will join, except the hemline, but all the other parts should have 1/2 inch except the hemline and the side seam. So this is the side of the front. I'll go ahead and cut it out on my fabric, and I added 1/2 inch. You can see what I'm doing there. I added 1/2 inch seam allowance around the dart line, and I left the side piece. I did not add any allowance around the side seam, sorry. So I'll go ahead and cut out the rest of my pattern that way. So this is the back pattern. You can see I have the center and I have the side. So I am done with the back. I also cut out my lining for the back, for the bra cup, and for everything. I cut a lining for everything. So here is the center front and here is the side of the front. So I have my bra cup pieces. This is the number 1, this is the number 3, and this is the number 2. So I'll go ahead and start joining on my sewing machine. I'll take you guys to my sewing machine so that you can see how I joined the front part especially. So I'll remove my pattern paper for the front. I'll show you guys how to join. So this is the center front, and I told you guys that I want my center front to have a joining at the center, so you can see they are open at the center. So here is the side of the front. So I'll go ahead and place the side pieces so that you will not be confused. So here are the side pieces. So the front is taking shape already. So if you go to your sewing machine, you will just join all of them this way. So over to my sewing machine, this is the front piece, this is the center front. I'll go ahead and place them together, and I will use 1/2 inch to join the two of them together. So after joining the center, I'll go ahead and join the side pieces. So if I open it up, this is what I have. I'll go ahead and join the side pieces. So I'm done with one side. I'll go ahead and join the other side. So here is what I have right now. I'll go ahead and trim the longer part so that they will be equal. So I'll go ahead and open all the seam allowance. I'll open them and iron them flat. It is very important. So right now I'll go ahead and join my bra cup pieces. So I have my number 1, 2, and 3. So first of all, you will join number 2 and number 3. Then after joining them, you will go ahead and join the number 1 to it. So I'm joining number 2 and number 3. This is for the main fabric. So I'll open it up, and this is what I have. Please do not forget to notch. Remember to notch so that the ironing will be very easy for you. So after joining the number 2 and the number 3, I'll go ahead and join my number 1. So after joining this number 1, you go ahead and trim in case you have excess. It happens most of the time. If you have excess, you can go ahead and trim it off. So after trimming, remember to notch so that the ironing will be very easy for you. So this is what I have after joining the 3 pieces together. So I'll go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other one, and you repeat this process on the lining. This is how you will join the lining also. So after joining, you have to iron very well before adding your bra cup. So I am done with the bra cup pieces. So for the bra cup, I want to add a little dart to my bra cup so that the bra cup will be deeper. I don't want it to be shallow. You know, some bra cups can be shallow. So I'll go ahead and add just a little dart, like 0.3 inch. So I've added my dart at the upper part of the bra cup, and this is what I have. They are deeper now, so I like it this way. So for the back part, this is how the back part looks. So I'll remove the pattern paper and I'll place them in a way that we understand. So here are the center pieces, the center back, and here are the side pieces. So I'll go ahead and join them together. So these are the strips that I cut out for my channel. You know, I'll add bones to this, so I will use this for the channels. So I have ironed the fronts. For these places, I will just run a stitch on the sewing allowance, on the seam allowance, and then add my bone. Then for this one, I'll place, for this side, I will place this strip on them and then run a stitch on them. Like I'll run double stitches on them or double stitch on them. That is for my boning casing or for my boning channels. So I'll repeat the same thing at the back also. This is the back. I have joined it. I'm trying to trim off the longer part. So I'll turn it and I'll go ahead and place those strips that I cut out. I'll just place it on them. I'll place one around the zipper allowance area or around the lacing area. You come in by half an inch before you place it, so that when you are turning it with the lining, it will not disappear. So this is the lining. I'm not doing anything on the lining. I will leave the lining that way. So here are the bra cup pieces for the lining, and here is also the lining for the back. I am done joining their lining. So this is the main fabric for the bra cup. So I'll go ahead and insert my bra cup. So at this point, you can use a needle and thread to tack it. You can use a hemming gum. You can use a hemming gum to hold down the bra cup on the fabric, but I used a pin to hold them down for now. But hemming gum is just the best. Just place a hemming gum on the bra cup, then place the bra cup piece on it and iron. So I am done making my boning casing. You can see I placed those strips on them and I ran a stitch on them. That is for the back. So this is the front. You can see I have my boning channels on them. I ran a stitch on the seam allowance, and that is it. So this is the net. I'll I'll add my net at this stage before adding the bra cup. So I'll go ahead and sew my net on this bra cup space. So I am done sewing. I'll go ahead and trim off the excess. So after doing this, you can now go ahead and join your bra cup. You are free to place the net on the right side or on the left side. It just depends on where you want it to be. So here is my bra cup. I'll go ahead and place my bra cup. I'll go ahead and join. So I reduced the length of my bra cup somehow because I want the neckline to come down more. So that's why it is shorter than the main fabric. But I'll go ahead and trim because I want the neckline to come down more. I am not satisfied with the 6 inches that I used earlier. So that is it. You also go ahead and join your bra cup to your lining. So this is what I have, and at this stage I will place my bones. I will add my bones before turning with my lining. So go ahead and add the bra cup to the lining. Then for the back, you also go ahead and add your bones for the back, and after adding it, then you can turn. But please, before turning your back, I made a mistake. Before turning the back, please make sure that the back piece and the front piece is equal at the side seam. It is very important because I forgot to do that when I was sewing and it affected me. So before turning them with their lining, make sure that they are equal at the side seam. Because of all these trimmings that I've been doing all this while, their lengths became different. So make sure that they are equal before turning with your lining. So I am adding my bones for the front. I'm doing a double boning method. So I am placing 2 bones on each side, but for the channels that I made on the side, they are just single. So I'll just insert a single bone there. So I am done inserting my bones. I can now go ahead and turn with my lining. So here is the bone for the back part. I'll go ahead and insert my bones for the back part. So after inserting them, I will go ahead and turn the back with their lining. So if your bone is disturbing, you can as well iron it flat. Ironing can help straighten the bones. So I'll go ahead and turn them with their lining. But if you are turning, please remember to leave a small space around the seam area. Leave a very small space around there so that you can turn it out from there after turning. So this is the front. I'll go ahead and turn with my lining, and if you are turning with your lining, please remember to leave a small space around the side seam where you will turn out the front from. So this is the lining. I'll go ahead and place, and I'll turn the neckline first of all. So if you are turning the neckline, remember to give it a fine sweetheart shape. So I am done turning the front, and this is where I left a space. So that is where I will turn out my front part from. So I will turn it out from that side, and I will do it for the back part also. So after doing that, I'll go ahead and iron very well. So here is my front, though my bones are not relaxed for now, and I'll go ahead and join the front and the back together. So this is what I was saying. At the end of the day, I realized that the side of the back is longer than the side of the front because of the trimmings that I did. I did not cross check before turning, so please do not make that mistake. So I'll still go ahead and adjust that. So after shaping, you use 2 inches to shape each side. After shaping, you will go ahead and add your eyelets. Adding an eyelet is actually better for this type of corset. You can add a loop, but I prefer adding an eyelet to them. So we are currently adding the eyelets. You add it at the back of the bone, so that when you tie it, the bone will help you hold the back of the corset in place. Do not place it before the bone, place it after the bones, so that when you tie it tightly, it will not fold at the back. It will help it hold your corset in place. And that is it, guys. At the end of the day, this is what we have. It is so fine. You can see my eyelet at the back, so you can see the back part. I actually trimmed it down. I did that for the sake of this tutorial. I am not actually wearing this corset anyway. So thank you guys for watching my video, and please do not forget to subscribe so that you can see more videos from me. Bye.